4 legendary Rays, and only 4. This is a harder exercise than you might think.
You are Locked On Rays, your daily Tampa Bay Rays podcast. Part of the Locked On Podcast Network, your team every day.
Welcome into the Locked On Rays podcast. Locked On Rays is part of the Locked On Podcast Network, your team every day. And we are Kevin and Ulises.
And we are lifelong Rays fans who have been podcasting about the Tampa Bay Rays since 2019.
Later on today's show, we get listeners' take on the Mount Rushmore for the Tampa Bay Rays. In a few minutes, we discuss what it would take for Junior Caminero to have his face etched in stone. But to start, we're carving our own Tampa Bay Rays Mount Rushmore, 4 faces who have defined the franchise so far.
And we're going to talk about all of that thanks to FanDuel. Right now, new customers can bet just $5. And if your bet wins, you get $300 in bonus bets to use across the app. Download the app today. There's no debate, Kevin. Evan Longoria is on the Rays Mount Rushmore. So really...
Yeah. And he always will be. I don't think that will ever
be.
change. 100 years from now, you still have to carve out a spot for him.
So he has that lock. He's the only lock. So you got 3 more spots. Beyond that, the answers aren't as clear cut. So after Longoria, there's a bunch of names that we can throw as possible options here, Kev.
Yeah, and it's funny because the Rays, being a younger franchise, it does make it a little bit more difficult and challenging. In the third segment, we will get to some listener comments, and they were throwing out coaches and individuals who weren't players. So that just shows you where we're at as a franchise. But I would say, obviously Longoria is numero uno.
Yeah.
I would also be pretty solid set in stone in adding Carl Crawford to the Mount Rushmore. I think he did enough before, unfortunately, going to the Red Sox. And
I think that's the detriment, though. I think that's the detriment when you talk about CC is the fact that he went to an AL East rival for a bunch of money.
That is true, but he was part of the group that won again. And when the team wasn't winning in the Devil Rays era, he was really the only thing to root for and look at. He was the only
ray of hope. He was the only ray of hope in the All-Star games. Remember? You're like, oh, at least we got Crawford, and Crawford's pretty cool. Like, yeah.
And right now, I mean, if we're being honest and fair, Evan Longoria and Carl Crawford do pretty much lead the Rays in every offensive category. So, as sucky as it is to witness how he left the Rays organization, I don't think I'm alone in having a soft spot for Carl Crawford and giving him some room on the Mount Rushmore. Beyond that, it gets even more challenging. You could go to Ben Zobrist, you could go to David Price, you could go to Kevin Kiermaier, you could go to James Shields, but 2 spots, 2 names, who do you give it to?
Exactly. And you're not even talking about like the new wave of Rays players, right? We're just right now stuck from 2008 to like 2013. There's no talk right now of Carlos Peña, of course, who I know he was a fan favorite. Yes. And we're not talking about Randy. We're not talking about Brendan Lau. You're not talking about Yandy Diaz. You're not talking about Blake Snell. It gets a little bit more complicated, but I think if we just focus on impact to the franchise, I think it'd be very difficult to not add James Shields on there. Because he changed the culture of what being a Rays starting pitcher should look like. And to this day, that is still alive in Rays culture. So I think when you talk about a Mount Rushmore, you got to think about impact to the organization. And I think James Shields has had that impact more so than the first Cy Young winner in David Price.
Yeah. And here's the thing. So we've already got 1 player who went to the Red Sox. I don't know if we can have 2 players on the Rays Mount Rushmore that went to the Red Sox in David Price. Mm-hmm. Heck, if maybe if David Price went anywhere else,
right,
if it wasn't the Red Sox or the Yankees, and maybe sticked around for another year or two, because the accolades speak for himself. James Shields never won a Cy Young. I don't think James Shields had 4 All-Star appearances, and David Price was really the proof that the Rays can draft, develop, and get pitchers to elite levels. But I'm with you, because we can't just go by overall numbers. You have to go by impact of the organization and changing the culture. And with that, I will give you James Shields. And then again, this is where it gets kind of tough. I'm leaning towards, either KK or Ben Zobrist. I mean, Ben Zobrist,
yep,
he was part of that era that, made it cool to play multiple positions. And he was the analytical guy that didn't get a lot of love or hype across baseball. But if you were a fan of the Rays and watched the Rays on a regular basis, you understand the true impact he had on the field, while he was always overshadowed by Carl Crawford and Evan Longoria and the home runs of Carlos Pena, so on and so forth. But Ben Zobrist was a pretty key centerpiece there too.
And let's not forget that even his manager would, he would catch strays from the manager sometimes saying, Ben Zobrist has no chrome.
Yeah.
Which obviously now we know that that's a good thing. That means, hey, he might not make the flashiest play, but if I put him at short, he'll be a shortstop. If I put him at second, he'll be a second baseman. If I put him in right field, he'll be a right fielder. Like, he is just the guy that you put wherever you need him to be, and he's going to play that position just right.
And that's kind of who the Rays are. It's a sum of the parts group. It's never been a superstar driven organization outside of, 1 or 2 players across the 30 years. So that's pretty much what we have as of today. We have Longoria, we have Crawford, we have Shields, and Zobrist. Now, having said that, over the next, 10, 15, 20 years, I could see where a name or two could be replaced on that Mount Rushmore.
And Junior Caminero must do something very specific, and we're going to talk about that to reach the Rays Mount Rushmore.
The NFL season is here, and FanDuel has an offer that you do not want to miss. Right now, new customers can bet just $5 and get $300 in bonus bets if you win. That's right. Pick a bet, put down $5, and if it hits, you'll unlock $300 in bonus bets to use across the app. It undoubtedly makes watching football even more exciting when you've got a little extra something riding on the action. And whether you're a casual fan or love diving into the stats, FanDuel, they make the game day experience so much better. So what are you waiting for? Visit FanDuel.com to download the FanDuel app today and get started. Let's be real. Making excuses doesn't solve anything. We've all heard them before. It's just stress, I'm tired, or it happens to everyone sometimes. But when it comes to performance, sometimes your body just needs a little extra support, and that's where Rugiet comes in. Rugiet.com offers fast-acting, doctor-prescribed treatments for ED designed to help you stop making excuses and start making moves. Rugiet makes it easy to get started. You just connect with a board-certified doctor, 100% online, no awkward waiting rooms, no in-person appointments. If prescribed, your treatment ships discreetly straight to your door. The process is fast, simple, and private, and it's all handled by real doctors. It's about confidence, connection, and quite frankly, getting back to the moments that matter. So go ahead, don't delay. Visit Rugiet.com/LockedOnMLB to get 15% off your first order. That's RUGIET.com/LockedOnMLB. And don't forget to use our code LockedOnMLB so they know we sent you. Rugiet, stop making excuses and start making moves.
Thank you for joining us at Locked On Rays, part of the Locked On Podcast Network, at your team every day. Junior Caminero needs to stick around for a full 5 seasons with the Rays in order to join this hallowed company And I'll even add on something extra, Kev. He needs a big Rays playoff moment.
Yes.
I mean, huge. Something akin to Brasso's home run. Like, he needs something that people will Brett Phillips moment. And we know that with Junior, it would probably be a very timely home run. He needs to have that, hopefully at the biggest stage in the World Series, to join this Mount Rushmore, because as we've just basically clarified, there are a lot of names, but he's going to have to do something really big to surpass that.
Yeah, just do one thing that Randy did in 2020 and you'll be in pretty good shape, and stick around for a decent number of seasons. And, assuming that Junior won't be a Ray his entire career, because pretty much no one is, it would be nice and ideal if he didn't go to an AL East division rival immediately after leaving the Rays. I mean, it's one thing with like KK, he's with the Rays for 10 years and you sign a 1-year deal with the Blue Jays or whatever. Like, I understand that. And, honestly, if KK, not to go back to the first segment too much, but if KK stayed a little bit more healthier, he might have had a good shot on being on that Mount Rushmore. But I'm with you with Junior. He needs that signature playoff moment in addition to what he's doing presently with the Rays. Not saying that he has to replicate exactly what he did this past season, but I would like to see, 5 to 6 30+ home run seasons. I would like to see multiple all-star appearances. I would like to see top 10 MVP finish. I want to see him ultimately become the face of the franchise for, a half decade plus, and get the Rays back to the playoffs, because that's also a big thing right now. Is we're in an era where the Rays are stagnating and going backwards seemingly. So Junior needs, and it's not just him, it's the entire team. They need to pull together and start winning, 92 to 94 games and making a deep playoff run, so he can, cement himself as a key face of the entire organization's history.
If Carl Crawford wasn't around for the 2008 through 2010 run, I don't think we would make him a part of this Mount Rushmore. No. You can't just be an exceptional player in a bad era and just make the Mount Rushmore. I just don't think that fits the qualities of somebody. You have to have led your team in some way, shape, or fashion to what they all want to, which is the World Series, which is the playoffs, which is getting that championship. And if, Junior doesn't do that, then it's going to hurt his chances. So definitely give him time, 5 seasons, give him the opportunity for a playoff moment, a signature playoff moment, like you said. Got to have that. But I think if you actually really want to make a statement, if you're Junior, then he needs to overtake Longo for career home runs with the franchise. And he needs to do that before those 5 full seasons. I know it's going to be a difficult feat, but after you hit 45 home runs, the selfish greed of the fan starts to get a little bit bigger and bigger. So if that is in his hands and in the capabilities of his skill set, he needs to do that in order to be on the Mount Rushmore too.
And I'll tell you, he's on a good pace right now. Keep doing what you're doing, because not only does he have the, on-field performance, but he has those qualities that say, like, people are going to go out and buy his jersey or his jersey. They're going to be all over Junior Caminero, which is also a big thing too, is you want the support from the fan base to, get yourself on that Mount Rushmore status. And again, we can't make the determination until several years from now, but he has the inside track to make himself a part of that elite group. You just hope that he's able to stay healthy and, God willing, sign a contract extension with the Rays. And, I just want to get to a point where guys like Junior for, post arbitration, that we can see another run like KK, that we can see another run like Evan Long. I think that's also key as well, because right now we're kind of in a position where, we mentioned Randy, we mentioned Snell, we mentioned Price. I mean, those guys, just a handful of years that they were with the Rays, and we almost don't even think we think about them maybe more with another organization. If you're playing as many years with another organization as with the Rays, it makes it a little bit more tough to put you on that Mount Rushmore list, if you will.
100%, and that's why you kind of think of the locks being Longo and CC, playing a decade with the team or close to it, that impacts it. Now, Brandon Lau is definitely a quirky case here. He has had multiple top 10 MVP selections or votes rather in his career. So, for example, Junior needs to overpass that. He needs to have more than Brandon Lau, top 10 MVP finishes. And he also needs to have more home runs than Evan Longoria to be on this. Like, is he on the right path? Certainly, but he does need to start to, check a few boxes. He did the first All-Star game. He almost won the home run derby. That's pretty cool things to add to the resume of being the face of the franchise, because at a national stage like the home run derby, scratch that, not a national stage, at a world stage like the home run derby, to put on the Rays jersey, that helps foment that fact that you are the face of the franchise.
And that's exactly what Evan Longoria did. I mean, from the time he was called up, and then as successful as he was in Gillette commercials, he was on the cover of video games. Carl Crawford, I mean, he was a guy that was showcased on ESPN all the time. Not many guys steal 6 bases in a single game against the Red Sox. So some of those moments are key for sure. I'll tell you what, I hate to mention this guy's name, but Wander also would have had the inside track if he didn't get into the trouble that he got into. And even like a Shane McClanahan too, if he hadn't been hurt the last couple of years. And again, not saying that his career is over by any means. There's still hopefully a long way to go. But I mean, those were, 2 guys that really could have entered in this new era and made themselves, part of that group. But right now it seems to be, Junior would be that guy. I think Brandon Lau still has some work to do. He certainly is getting to the longevity point, which is key. And that's, part of the fun of having these conversations. I mean, because you are a younger franchise, and
what happens with Brandon Lau actually does what we're saying the Junior should do, which is overtake the home run lead. If he actually takes that from Longo, then B Lau now is basically saying, hey, do I make the Mount Rushmore now?
Yeah, we might have to remove Ben Zobrist or something. Somebody's got to go. We can only have 4 names on this Mount Rushmore. And speaking of that, with a young franchise like the Rays, as we've talked about already, there does just seem to be a lack of consensus from the fans as to who those 4 individuals would be. This episode is brought to you by Prize Picks. Every day we make decisions, but on Prize Picks, being right can actually get you paid. Don't miss the excitement of this football season with Prize Picks, where it's good to be right. Playing Prize Picks is such a fun, simple way to add more excitement to football. You just pick more or less on player projections, like Josh Allen's passing yards or Saquon Barkley rushing for a touchdown. And just like that, you are in the game. This is also what I love about Prize Picks. I love how quick it is. You can make your lineup in under a minute, and they've also added stacks. So if I want to ride with a player, I can select their pass yards, rush yards, and touchdowns all in one lineup. So what are you waiting for? Go ahead, download the Prize Picks app today and use code LOCKEDONMLB to get $50 in lineups after you play your first $5 lineup. That's code LOCKEDONMLB, LOCKEDONMLB, for $50 in lineups after your first $5 lineup. Prize Picks. It's good to be right. Thank you for listening to the Locked On Rays podcast and making us your very first listen every day. We do appreciate it. We are part of the Locked On Podcast Network, your team every day. Rays fans are also divided on a Mount Rushmore, possibly, or most likely, because the franchise is still young. We're not like the Yankees where, hey, it's Ruth, Gehrig, Mantle, and Jeter. We're not like the Cardinals where it's Musial, Gibson, Pujols, and Smith. There's some room here on a Mount Rushmore for the Rays. I was looking at some articles and one of them put it like this, the faces of a Mount Rushmore for the Rays feels more like an era than eternal, if you will. So that's one way to put it. But getting to some of the comments here, Quinlan Deegan says, Longoria, Shields, Yandy, and Rodney. He says, I know Rodney is an unusual choice, but his 2012 might be the greatest of any Rays player in franchise history. Jay says, Longo, Crawford, Price, Shields. Jake Stokes, Longo, Crawford, Pena, Zobrist, says that he wanted to throw a pitcher in there, but he is going with those four. Junior could quickly make his way in there if he keeps his production up for a while. Brett says Snell, CC, Price, Longoria. James says G-Man due to the vibes. Shields due to the complete game warrior mentality. Madden because he was the perfect coach to usher in the new era of Rays baseball, and then Longo because of clutch moments. And then Nolan says Longo, Crawford, Kiermaier, and Randy. Oh, wait, those are my four favorite Rays. Still, the list is the same. And then finally, Danny Perez says KK, Longo, Crawford, and Price. So there is some disagreement and back and forth among the contingent out there.
I hope the person that picked them does not take this personally. You cannot have a coach or a manager on this list, people. It's not, I don't care if they introduced spaceships to go from first to third. I don't care if they invented a laser gun to shoot the baseball from right field to home plate. I don't care if they broke the quantum physics of alternate realities to go from being a Red Sox to a Ray player in the same inning. You can't have a manager or coach on this Mount Rushmore.
He wears a jersey, though.
Come on, guys. Players only, man. Players only. You can't know.
Maybe we have to do a personnel coaching staff front office. We have Cash up there, we have Madden up there, we have Sternberg up there, Neander up there, and then
it's like, okay, we got Friedman and Neander,
that goes back to I think it might have been a couple years ago, but one of your classic Ulises rants was that there were people out there calling either G-Man Choi and or Brett Phillips the face of the franchise, or Kevin Cash the face of the franchise. Like, you can't have a coach as the face of the franchise. You can't have Brett Phillips or G-Man Choi can't be a face of the franchise. You can like them because of their personality, but they're not faces of the franchise, or the guys that pretty much lead the team in WAR year in and year out.
Which I mean, you didn't get into baseball to root for Kevin Cash as the manager, right? Maybe when Kevin Cash was at the plate and he was hitting, maybe you're like, okay, let's see something good here. Like he would say, not a lot of times something good happened, but like that's a different thing. And that's why, when people, if they say Kevin Cash or Joe Madden, or let's say if they put a front office executive, I think that's why it kind of gets warped lately with how baseball is going, that we sometimes start to root for our front offices rather than our players.
Yeah.
That's not the way that it should be, people.
No, I think we're probably the only organization in baseball that does that. We do a lot of unique things here in Tampa Bay Rays land, but we should not be getting to the point where we have Eric Neander jerseys and jerseys out there. The guys that
quarter zips with Neander on the back.
Exactly. Everybody's in quarter zips and slacks and Doc Martens or something like that. So
there you go.
The smartest guy in the room. Maybe that's a Halloween costume. Something.
Ooh, there you go.
So yeah, there we go. Put it in the comments what you think. Who's on your Rays Mount Rushmore? Like we've said continuously throughout this episode, this is a fluid list outside of Longo and maybe KK or maybe CC. So we'll just have to see. We'll have to see what happens in the new Rays Stadium, and might have to circle back in, I don't know, 2045, 2050 to see if we have another name or two on this list.
And make your arguments like I think it was, you said Quinlan Deegan who said Rodney, and then he actually said, I know Rodney is an odd choice, comma, but I believe he had the best race season ever, which there is an argument to be said about that. I mean, when you have a .56 ERA in 50+ innings pitched, that's a damn good season, man. So make your arguments for people that you might think it's a hot take, but I do think, besides Longoria being a lock, I think we do agree that maybe CC also should be a lock there.
Yeah. If we did a Mount Rushmore of greatest individual seasons, then I'd be more apt to put Rodney.
There you go.
List. I mean,
there you go.
It's hard to put a guy on a Mount Rushmore when you only played 2 seasons with the team.
Correct.
So, there it is there. All right, we have more fun later on this week, so stay tuned to the Locked On Rays podcast. We appreciate you listening. Be sure to like and subscribe on our YouTube and support us in any way that you can. Hope you all have a wonderful day. Stay safe, and we will talk to you